All right, so Bama, this has been just wonderful having you interpret for us.
Interpret for you. No.
So I'm going to give it back to you.
Okay.
You're not putting me on the internet, are you? Because I don't have a script, so I can't be responsible for what comes out of my mouth. That old line. She's trying that one again. It's not going to work. I was just thinking as I was coming in here, I was like, I hope nobody's talking about nutrition because this entire building smells like butter. And I'm really hungry now. So, which is appropriate because here to challenge the food system is Steve Brady. He says he's nervous. I don't buy it because he totally won the Story Slam, like killed the Story Slam over at the Treehouse last time we had one. And his talk is entitled Must Have Food. Steve. Clap for Steve, he's nervous.
I found this photo recently, and I know many of you are thinking, well, he was cool in high school. But my first thought was, how have I nearly doubled my weight in the 40 years since I've graduated? I began taking in a lot of documentaries and reading books and on topics from nutrition to the corruption and environmental impact of our industrial food system. And I soon realized that I was starving for nutrition. I wasn't hungry for food. And I got a juicer, and I have lost over 20 pounds. And I have shifted from a primarily meat-based to a largely vegetarian diet, and I feel good. But the real breakthrough for me was the insight that I gained into our food system. We are a population where fewer than 2% of us are living as farmers. And in the last 100 years, we've gone from over 6 million farms feeding 100 million people to over fewer than 1 million farms feeding over 300 million people. And we've gone from a local food supply providing about 90% of our food needs to one where less than 4% of our food comes from within our own community. And even more frightening than this is a shift in farm ownership to major corporations. In fact, the next time you're looking down your grocery store aisles, internalize the fact that nearly 90% of the food that you're seeing lining those shelves is coming from fewer than 10 conglomerates. And in addition to food production, nearly over 50% of our retail groceries are sold by 4 companies, with Walmart controlling over 25% of our food chain. And what's even more frightening is the move from the corporate execs back and forth between their companies and leadership roles in the EPA, the FDA, and the USDA. 80% of our packaged food now contains GMOs, and 80% of our antibiotics used in the US goes to our beef, poultry, and pork. And the organizations that are producing the chemical additives that are increasingly being linked to a wide range of cancers and other illnesses are the same groups that are telling us that raw organic milk is dangerous to consume. And in just the last 40 years, the same time it took for me to add nearly 100 pounds, even our fresh produce has lost over 40% of its nutritional value. Also, it can look better and last longer on the shelves. But the beautiful thing is, you don't have to believe me. Brix is a measure of food nutritional value, and for about $50, you can buy a Brix spectrometer and see for yourself just how quickly enzymes and vitamins disappear from our produce. Measure everything from canned to fresh organic, to our beautiful heritage products from our local farmers markets and from your own gardens. It'll be amazing how the data will change the way you look at food and nutrition. But this isn't rocket science. You don't have to be a stay-at-home dad to understand this. We have the ability we have the water, we have the land to grow enough nutritious food to feed the entire planet. But when we grow chemically based monocrops and we lose our life-sustaining biodiversity, or when we select a meat-based diet and consume between 4 and 8 times the energy or the resources per calorie, or when we grow our crops and use them as fuel for an unsustainable transportation model, or when we demand a food supply that is global in its reach and bypasses the seasonality of a natural system, then all of a sudden, as you see here, the math no longer works. And that puts us on the path that we're on today. But in addition to our own self, we need to return to a system of sustainability for the generations that follow us. Sometime take a trip up to the Chimica Market. It's a little store about 1,500 square feet. And ask yourself, shop there and ask yourself, what is it that I need nutritionally that they're missing? I think you'll find the answer is nothing. So what would it be like if all the center aisles of our stores, all the dead, highly processed food, just went away, and what we were left with was the natural sources of what our bodies really need, the nutrition. There are a lot of bright minds here in the audience, and the grocery stores have the information, so someone please write the software application that will help us all better understand what it is that we're getting, how it was grown, how far it's traveled to get here, and what nutrition it provides for us. I'm well nourished now, but I'm hungry for change. Let's stop starving ourselves and return to a sustainable and healthy way of eating. Thank you.
That was great. I am learning a lot. I don't know why they don't just let Bainbridge run the world, because you guys got it figured out. You know what I want to do is I want to eat sustainably and have all my nutrition, but I do want to live in a house that smells like butter and sugar. But eat the good, but then just smell the butter and sugar because it smells good. Makes me want a salad.
Yeah.
I can tell myself that if I change my brain, am I right? We'll figure it out. We'll figure all of it out. You and me, Bainbridge. Okay. What do we have next? Oh, interesting. Okay. Our next speaker is a writer and restorative exercise specialist, and she's going to talk to us about adaptation and the geometry of pain. Please welcome Dani Hamat.
Or if you're in America, Hemet. But
Hamet. Sorry. Did I hybrided it a bit.
to be fair to Balma, I did tell her how it's pronounced in Iran, so that's what she was going off of. So if any of you are wondering what it's like up here, it's terrifying. Adaptation. Are we doing it wrong? We know more than ever about our health. You can't look at your home page or turn on the TV without a health or fitness tidbit waving its hand frantically in front of your face like a second grade know-it-all, hoping you'll listen and give credence to what it has to say. But perhaps we're overlooking something because we seem to be in an awful lot of pain and we are deteriorating a little too quickly. Over 1 million Americans a year replace their hips and knee joints with artificial joints. Over 43 million have been told by a doctor that they have arthritis, and another 23 million have undiagnosed chronic joint symptoms. On back and neck pain alone, we spend $83 billion a year. $83 billion. We pop pills, wear back braces, and use medieval torture-type instruments to relieve that pain. Some of us visit chiropractors more times a month than we visit our moms in a year. It's true. Our backs hurt, our necks hurt, our hips hurt, our knees hurt, our shoulders hurt, our wrists, elbows, and hands hurt. Our feet hurt. What the hell? We're in pain. And veganism pundits blame our high meat and dairy consumption. The dairy industry tells us we just need to drink more milk. CrossFit assures us that if we could just do more burpees, we'd surely be better off. But some of us are drinking our milk. And some of us are vegan. Forks Over Knives is like Gideon's Bible in a hotel nightstand. Everybody's glanced at it at least once, and it can change some people's lives, Steve. We cleanse. We are gluten-free. There are 330 paleo cookbooks on Amazon.com. 330. And kombucha is the latest magic elixir sliding down our throats, replacing acai berries, remember those? Goji berries, and mangosteen. What happened to those? We're working out. Since the 80s, we've been obsessed with fitness, and now we crave fads that push our limits, P90X and CrossFit. There are enough anecdotal reports to suggest that the high rate of joint injuries suffered by CrossFit followers is not due to the fact that they've slacked off on their calcium consumption. Even more reasonable endeavors such as yoga and Pilates can trouble our bodies. Fists for wrists, anybody? Oh, I strained my hamstring. Bad downward dog, bad dog. So let's ask ourselves, are our joints so defective? Is our design so poor that these machines that we've been given are bound to fail before our life force has left them? Well, perhaps we are the dysfunction and not our bodies. Perhaps it is faulty design, not faulty design, but operator error. Perhaps we've strayed too far from natural biological movement, and this is the price. Our daily movements are damaging. We're hunching over smartphones, computer use, texting, sitting 8 to 16 hours a day, driving too much and not walking at all. I know it can overwhelm to think about changing those everyday, all day long habits that we have. Our adaptation to modern convenience can limit our biological function in the long term. But there's one thing you can change. It would make a tremendous difference in your overall, immediate, and long-term wellness, and it rhymes with booze. Shoes. You could change your shoes. Whether men's or women's, high heels or running shoes, any shoe with a positive heel, even 1 to 2 inches, causes your joint alignment to be displaced 20 to 40 degrees. That causes your body to pitch forward, and in order to remain upright with your eyes on the horizon, you have to deform the natural alignment of your ankles, knees, pelvic tilt, and spinal curvature. Now, what other machines that we expect long-term use from could function at a 20-degree displacement off its normal axis? A car? A washing machine? How long would they last? It's too much to expect from a machine, and that's what your body is. It's designed to be used, but not abused. Think about it. You misalign your joints, then you move that way, you run, you walk that way, you lift that way. It's like driving a car on 2 flat tires. Things are going to wear down, and that's not rocket science, that's 10th grade geometry. From orthotics to fitness shoes, the solutions are getting sillier. Footwear was conceived pre-penicillin to save us from punctures and infection. But this Pandora's box of our own creation is tearing us apart one joint at a time. If you make this change, please nurture your shortened and weakened muscles and give them time to function properly. We are adapting toward our demise, but you can begin to reverse these troubles, and all you have to do is free your souls. Thank you for your time and attention.
Feel good? Put some butter in.
Oh, the butter it's an aerosol, a fine aerosol mist all throughout the room.
No, I do feel better. My toe was going a little numb, actually. But man, my calves look good. No, I'm just kidding. Thank you, Danny. That was, boy, I'm now making all these little notes for, gotta change that. I got a lot of stuff to change when I get home. Sorry. Oh, here we are, number 13. No. Our next speaker is a substitute teacher and international student exchange coordinator. And let me see your shoes. Oh, he's fine. He's fine. He is going to do a talk about ride sharing to Broadway. Please welcome Robert Wechsler.
Close enough, thank you. Okay, good evening. Ride sharing to Broadway. How to get where you're going without driving yourself. Crazy. Okay, just a quick show of hands. How many of you came today by car? Okay, I can't see any of you. Anyway, I'm going to assume that most of you did. Okay, how many of you came with one other person? Okay, pretty good. Okay, the problem is this is Bainbridge Island today, right? There's virtually no public transportation. Why is this? Because it's a chicken and the egg problem. First, we're told that there's not enough buses because there's no people to fill them. And there aren't people to fill them because there aren't any buses. Okay, so how do we break out of this? Well, one method would be to simply stand on the street and try to grab a ride. The problem with that is that how often do you find someone going to where you want to go at the same time that you can trust? Okay, so it's not very practical. What you could do is what happened to me when I was standing in my Bainbridge Corral in a rehearsal at Woodward School. How many of you came to our recent concert called From Baroque to Broadway? Couldn't find a ride, right? Okay, that's probably it. If you look carefully, I'm standing there in the back hiding. I'm the one who's listening to the pitches around me and taking the average. Yeah, okay. And I realized that some of these people are trustworthy, but the problem was that every Monday night, this is what our cars looked like in the parking lot of Woodward for our rehearsals. Mine's sort of in the middle, right around there. And I figured there's got to be a way that we can get to this rehearsal by combining in cars, right? We could just pick up our friends, but that wasn't very practical either. And if we got really, really lucky, we just might find the perfect ride mate. We'll see in a moment. There we go. Okay. Now, the problem with this is that we didn't have a bird's eye view of everybody in the corral. There were 93 members, and so nobody knew where anyone else lived. So I took it upon myself to start this ride-sharing mapping project. Fortunately, some other members had already created this incredible directory of all the members. We had blues for sopranos, red for altos, we had tenors and greens, and yellows and basses. And so all I did is gave numbers to everybody, and then at the intermissions, we plotted ourselves on the map. And we quickly noticed that there are basically about 5 quadrants. That's really good in math. There's the north section, the south, the east, the west, and central right here. And if you'll notice, Woodward right here is like the beating heart. And what we quickly discovered is, amazing, we shouldn't be called the Bainbridge Corral, we should be called the Kitsap Corral, because more than, or almost a third came from off island. And the second most was central down here. Okay, so the statistics are that 29% of the people came from off island, from like Paulsbola and Kingston Town and places like that. The average distance was 14 miles per person round trip to one rehearsal, which totaled to 1,300 miles for everybody, which is the equivalent of going to San Diego. So I thought, why not just rent a van and drive down to San Diego, have our first rehearsal there, party for a week, soak up the sun, drive back, and it would be equivalent distance, and we'd have a lot more fun. Unfortunately, that wasn't accepted by the choir, so instead I made these lists, and I took the arteries leading in to Woodward. So for example, you can't see very well here, but one of these is Linwood Center, and I put everybody's names on that particular artery, distributed this to the people in the choir, and then they self-organized into groups. Focusing in on downtown, you'll notice an interesting thing about the colors here. The reds are for altos and the blues are for sopranos. Notice how there are 13 women for one little male over here downtown. I'll let you figure out what that means. So here we are. This is coming down Sunrise Drive here. And this is Linwood Center group after they gathered there. And this one, you might notice, this is the off-island group. That's after they had enough to consume at the casino. Okay, these you can't see very well. This is my brainiac assistants right here. And they were saying, feed me, feed me. It took too much time to organize this, so there had to be a better way. And in fact, someone had invented a better way because there's an app for that. The app is, you might know of Zipcar, but one you might not know of is Obvago. That gets passengers and drivers together on an instant rideshare basis. And there's a thing called Get Around, which allows you to rent your neighbor's car. Even Sustainable Bainbridge has Go Bainbridge. So I just ask you that you join me in trying to create an instant rideshare program for the entire island by coming to our next concert this summer of the Bainbridge Corral. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Word of warning though, you do not want to be in a car with 13 sopranos. I won't get into it. I'm just trust me on that. Our next speaker is a personal and professional his personal and professional training and development workshops have been. Oh, you told me not to say that, and there I said it. I told you if anyone did anything embarrassing, I would top it. So there, that is. I said half of it. Can I say the rest? Have been featured on the Today Show. And you can learn more about his workshops at sparkinteraction.com. Is that correct? And he's going to give a talk entitled Play Formation, the Zombie Resistance's Most Powerful Weapon. Ladies and gentlemen, Leif Hansen.
Sorry.
Thank you.
I don't listen.
Ready for an experiment? I love technology. Part of me does. Growing up as a kid, I loved the adventure games. I had my Apple II Plus, all the way up to the iPhone. Actually, my first viral experiment was with my daughter on the street begging for an iPhone. But that's a long story. You'll have to check out the YouTube video. And the problem is that there's things that I love more than technology. My family, being out in nature, playing, improv theater, applied improvisation, connecting with people, having deep embodied discussions. And sometimes I just feel like my relationship to the screen is a little bit out of control. I feel a little bit addicted. I feel like something's not quite in integrity, almost like I'm a zombie. Well, I found out that a lot of other people feel that way. They feel like their brain, we've had some brain talks tonight, are being almost eaten. So I wanted to stop the zombie invasion and ignite a revolution about getting more in your body and bringing what I call play formation, that restoration of your whole self to life and reality. So here we are doing this thing with a screen, kind of ironic, right? Well, guess what? You guys get to stand up. Everybody stand up. You're going to have a partner next to you. Don't be afraid. It might get messy. You might get interrupted, but we're going to see what can happen in 3 minutes of more interactivity. All right? So before you get eaten by your partner, introduce your names, person next to you, and decide one of you to be Blueberry and one of you is named Funny Pants. Make it quick. Answer this question. If a picture is worth 1,000 words, what's live experience worth? Just a few words between you. So the following questions, you don't have to pay attention to the screen, but you'll know. You are going to now take 30 seconds, one of you 15, to make a sound and a movement to describe how you're feeling in this moment. Go ahead. Like, whatever it is. All right, wrap it up. And now close your eyes in a nice Gandhi style. Close your eyes. You've heard wonderful ideas tonight. What is one of the most inspiring ideas you've heard? Okay, share that. Whoever Blueberry is, share that answer with Funny Pants. Now, Funny Pants, share your inspiring idea with Blueberry. Okay, we're going to take it a little bit further. Blueberry, what is one action that you're willing to commit this week to play forward that thing you were inspired about? Tell that to Funny Pants. One action, anything simple. And Funny Pants, when done, your turn. One action. Okay, now we're going to really take it forward. I want you to imagine it's the future. Hey guys, you guys all came back. Thanks so much. We'll have a conversation. It's 1 week in the future and converse with each other. What's it like? What's your life like? What's it feel like now that you did that action? Go ahead and have that conversation together. If you haven't switch it around. Make sure you each get a turn. What's different in your life? Because we're going to make it even more real in a second. All right. Now, this one is optional, but if you're open to it, I want you sometime tonight to exchange contact information and follow up with that person to see if they're full of shit or not. Maybe an email, a call, maybe a live meeting, and ask each other, hey, how did it go? What was life like? Thank you guys so much for participating. I hope that you can stay awake to how weird and wonderful it is to be alive. Play with life. I have a lot more about this topic. I'd love to give you some free ebooks over at sparkinteraction.com. Thank you guys.
Woo! Talk about igniting. I didn't know digits were going to be passing out there tonight. Woo! Oh, that's risky and fun. Cool. I escaped. Just hiding in the corner. No! You can find me on Facebook. But don't. Or do, I don't care. After you find Skip. Any word from Skip? No. I'll leave Skip alone. Do you know? Who knows Skip? I really do. I'm going to call him later just to get it on tape. Our next speaker leads local workshops and groups for men, and he is going to talk to us about radical men breaking the myth of masculinity. Awesome. Please welcome David Franklin.
I want to start by asking a question. What do the following 4 incidents have in common? The Enron scandal, the Holocaust, the Sandy Hook elementary school shootings, and the Exxon Valdez oil spill. Answer: the people most directly responsible for each were men. Take a moment and think of terrorist attacks, acts of violence, political scandals, financial mishaps, and so on. Whose faces come to mind? In many cases, the people directly involved are men. Is this a coincidence, or is there something deeper going on here? There is a crisis of masculinity that typically goes unacknowledged. It impacts everyone: men, women, children, and the planet. Although the previous incidents are rather extreme, consider these US statistics. Males comprise of 95% of incarcerated people and 3/4 of the homeless. 1/3 of children in America live apart from their biological fathers. 94% of rapists are men. The government spends $100 billion every year on programs such as child support enforcement and anti-poverty efforts to support father-absent homes. My point is not that men are bad or evil or that women are better than men. Rather, it's to recognize that there's a serious problem that needs to be addressed. And I believe this problem is not something that is inherent in men, but that we are taught. So how exactly does this happen? For too long, we've adopted a boys will be boys attitude, and the traits that we assume to be inherent in men, such as violence, difficulty communicating, preoccupation with sex, and the inability to nurture, are just how men are. We seldom consider that we create the social conditions that contribute to these behaviors. For example, it is no wonder that men are so obsessed with sex when it is one of the few socially acceptable means of intimacy for men, when we are bombarded by sex in the media, and when our self-worth is tied to our sexual prowess. This accounts for way more than men naturally having high sex drives. Although each culture has its own rules around what it means to be a man, boys in America are taught to adhere to the boy code, or the 4 pillars of masculinity. Pillar 1, no sissy stuff. Don't act like girls or women, which incidentally reinforces the idea that it's bad to be female. Pillar 2, the sturdy oak. Do it yourself. Don't show weakness or emotion. Pillar 3, the big wheel. Focus on success, wealth, and achievement. And Pillar 4, give 'em hell. Don't show fear. Be tough, aggressive, and daring. Images of what it means to be a real man are reinforced in popular media and typically follow the 4 pillars of masculinity. By contrast, although they are revered, men such as Gandhi, Martin Luther King, and Jesus are seldom referred to as examples of what it means to be a real man. The code also affects men in ways that include depression, difficulty parenting, sexual addiction and anxiety, and having few, if any, intimate male friendships. Having spent their entire lives trying to follow the code, many men have no idea who they are or are afraid to be themselves. Men are terrified to break the code. For example, think of how uncomfortable many men would be to cry in public, display affection towards other men, share intimate feelings about their lives with men without talking about sex, turn down a dare, or act feminine in any way. Should a man break the code, there are consequences. He might be called a girl or a pussy. He might be called a faggot or a homo. He might be shamed, bullied, beaten, or even killed. Because being gay is associated with being like a woman, homosexuality violates the code. Unfortunately, because of the code, many men are too afraid or ashamed to admit that there's a problem, let alone do anything about it. They cover up with bravado, humor, or acting as though everything's fine. Often it takes some kind of crisis to make men take a deeper look at their lives and acknowledge what's not working. Despite holding the majority of the world's political, religious, and economic power, men are clearly suffering. Many men then enact this suffering onto others. Women and children, not to mention other men, pay a severe price for the code of masculinity. Clearly, the code is not working. As I mentioned earlier, these behaviors aren't necessarily inherent in men. Consider cultures where men openly express their feelings, care for their children, use violence as a last resort, or hold hands in public. Clearly, men have the ability to be different. The question is, do we have the courage to be different? The courage to challenge ideas around what it means to be a man when those ideas cause suffering or harm? The courage to teach boys a different way of being? The courage to drop the personas, get real, and be true to who we are? Instead of trying to define masculinity, we can learn to honor the uniqueness of each and every boy and man. We can start living from the inside out instead of looking to others to tell us what's okay. We can stand up to the code, acknowledge its impact, and allow a new way to emerge. What does it mean to be a real man? It means you being real. Real about who you are and what you feel. Real about your strengths, limitations, and mistakes. Real about your biggest dreams and your deepest fears. Real about the kind of relationships you want with those you love. Real about what truly matters to you. I talk about many of these things in my book, Radical Men, including 50 simple practices that any man can do. If you are a man, parent of a boy, or someone who desires a better world, I urge you to take a step towards creating a new model for masculinity. You have the power to do something about it. Thank you.
Thank you. That was awesome. I will be ordering 500 copies of that book tonight. Handing it out on the street corner. Can I just tell you, having been to a country where men do hold hands with each other, I just want to put it out there, as a woman, it's hot. There you go. Wow. So David, are your workshops only for guys? Want me showing up. Hi. I can buy the book. Can't stop me. Our next speaker is going to talk to us about trusting the irrational. Please welcome Elisa Romeo. I did. Come on.
Hello, thanks for staying. Okay. It is hard to see up here. Can you guys hear me? Okay. Okay. I start to see bright lights flashing like a strobe light. I feel my eyelids fluttering like they do in REM sleep when you're dreaming. I begin to see rapid, vivid visual pictures. Without warning, my consciousness, myself, the place I'm thinking from, knowing myself as, suddenly flies out of my physical body and hovers 2 feet above me. I stare with wonder at the creases on my face, the lines on my eyelids. I watch my chest contract and expand. I see the turquoise t-shirt I'm wearing, but I'm not seeing it from my eyes, but looking down above my body. I feel a loving presence behind me, pulling me up, 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 welcoming back into this magnetic force, this beautiful, exquisite, and intelligent love pulsing all around and within me, welcoming me back home. And I have an epiphany that's changed my life forever. I am not my body. In grad school, after a lecture, I went outside to sit on the cool grass with the other students at lunch. My palms went cold. I felt nauseous. The sunlight raining down on me begins to strobe, the onset of a migraine. A caring friend ushered me into the small room out of the blinding sunshine. I then proceeded to enter into this drug-free, altered state where my consciousness left my body. The experience left me baffled. I grew up in an analytical, rational family. I never considered myself a spiritual person. Suddenly, in less than 5 minutes, my paradigm of how the world worked vanished. Up to that moment, I had devoted my life to my academic studies and emerging practice as a Jungian psychotherapist, interpreting dreams with talk therapy. After this experience, I continued on with my practice, but secretly I also began to bring into my sessions this new understanding of who we actually are. After this experience, I could literally feel and see the soul energy around my clients. I could feel in my body when my client was speaking connected to their soul or separated and constricted from fear. The soul energy is that always loving, still small voice that wants to inform the personality and guide the ego self back in a practical way to their true nature here on the planet. Besides focusing on the health and functioning of the personality, I was also focused on the reasons the spirit of the client came to the planet and what they most deeply wanted to serve here. I assist in lining their life up with that aim and intent. I was amazed to see how healing this was. My clients began feeling more alive, purposeful, and connected. I realized I didn't have a choice. I knew what I had to do. In his book, The Soul's Code, archetypal psychologist James Hillman introduced us to this idea of the acorn theory. Derived from Plato, the theory rests on the hypothesis that we all have an inner soul guide and voice, the daemon, pulling us towards our unique greatness. As the acorn holds the entire pattern of a grown, magnificent oak tree in its small, compact shell, we also have the blueprint from our soul contained within each of us, guiding and calling to us. When fully actualized, one can look back and see the clues along the way where life and our soul were conspiring to bring us to our greatest self. Instead of only viewing us as nature, like biological factors, or nurture, like upbringing, we are subject to a third formless ingredient, the soul. I remembered meeting my son when he was first born. At 2 minutes old, I experienced his strong and unique personality. Where did he come from? Instead of this idea, we come into the world as a blank slate, a tabula rasa. The acorn theory proposes we enter the world with our own secret language hidden between the cover of our lives. Our spiritual task is to decode our soul's language and become fluent in what our soul has to say. If we prioritize, protect, and preserve the specific nature of our being, we stand courageously and honor soul. Far from being narcissistic or self-involved, soul devotion is the most selfless thing we can do. We give the world what we came here to give. We get out of our own way and trust the energy between the heartbeats, surrender to the force that pumps our blood, and connect to the internal pre-existing wisdom that divides our cells. As Joseph Campbell said, the privilege of a lifetime is being who you are. Thank you.
Wow. Is anybody crying? Guys, it's okay. I am a little bit. I'm saving it for later because I'm on TV or whatever. The interweb. Wow. This is a special place here tonight. Not to be a goober. This is our last talk. I hope you guys all hang out. Well, you've all got each other's digits, so. This next speaker is an IGNITE alumni. And she is going to talk to us. She's going to wrap up the evening with a talk on the pursuit of joy, which is very awesomely appropriate. Please welcome Christine Castigliano.
I did it. She so did that. Okay. You know what I wish? Why didn't I go to the bathroom during the break? Just saying. So here's something we all want more of, right? But how? Luckily, we have some happiness research and indigenous wisdom. So we all got the joy, 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 joy down in our heart, and you got the joy, joy, joy in your body, in every part. You got the joy, joy, joy that you can access from your mind. We've all got joy, yeah, yeah, all around us, all of the time, yeah. Well, the happiness research does show that it's not about the money, honey. It's not about that status that we thought we were going after. And it's not about looking good. Happy people are going after something that they love from their soul, but they're using their mind to learn skills and abilities to take them down that road. Happy people also know how to work that body, because we are physical animals and we need to move in a way that feels joyful. So endorphins get you a long way there, don't they? We are also hardwired for social connection. So happy people are those who have close relationships with friends and family, and if they don't love you, hopefully the dog will. And the most important factor, though, for happiness is this sense of something bigger than you. It's kind of that soul thing that Elisa was talking about. It's outside of you and it's in you. And you can experience that in nature or spiritual practice, or how about just giving back to someone in community, you know, showing up. Okay, so we're all pursuing happiness, but what about joy? I've noticed that happiness kind of tends to depend on what is happening, whereas joy, I can tap into that even when the shizzle is really hitting the fan. So let's give it a try just right now. Just everybody just smile. Ah, nice. Okay, see if you can tap into that joy channel. Ah, now don't you feel more energy? I believe that joy is a secret weapon to tackle world problems, because if you have more energy, you are more likely to follow through on those things that your soul is telling you to do. That's my belief. Now, what about when you're not feeling the joy? We all have that. So, well, what if joy was really like this sun that you just can't experience because this cloud is there? What if you could use these same pathways to happiness to kind of punch through that cloud? You can use your mind, clarity. You can breathe with your body. You can feel it with your heart. And you can connect to that bigger perspective, and all of it will touch the sun. Now that's in the moment. But I was noticing at the end of my day, I was getting that big cloud of doom because I never got everything done on that list. You know what I'm talking about. So I created this little tool, this game for myself I called the Joy Finder. So I basically draw this medicine wheel in my calendar, and it's a way to reframe my perspective on what I'm doing so that I can get more joy. So check it out. If I gotta write an email, maybe I'm resisting it, I was like, oh, dude, it goes on the joy because I'm using my mind to do that. If I gotta learn something new, check, check, check. And then, even if I don't have time for a total body workout, if I get to dance just a little bit in a day, I give myself a check. And if I get a little weeding done, check. And if I go for a walk with a friend, I get a double check because I'm also connecting with somebody with my heart. If I have a conflict that I'm willing to tackle, if I want to tell my husband, I love you, honey, there he is. Check, check, check. And then that sense of something way bigger than me. There's a lot of different ways to tap in, but gratitude is certainly just the shortcut. And then showing up and singing and giving back to community, it's a good day. So at the end of my day, I can look back and go, instead of all the things I didn't do, I can look at all the joy that I have managed to scrounge just with what was laying around. So now it's your turn. Before you leave tonight, tell somebody what you're going to do to get back some of that joy, 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 joy. We've all got the joy, 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 joy. You can get back to that joy. Come on and sing it with me. Joy. Thank you.
I feel it, Christine. Feel it. Is that it? Are we done? That can't be it. What a wonderful evening, am I right? My cup is full. My cup is full. Well, I would say, gosh, you guys are wonderful. You can do a lot in 5 minutes and learn a lot in 5 minutes. I actually learned a little bit too much. I cannot go back to the city now. So if you have a couch, that's okay. I'll go back. I'll bring the golden fleece back to the city people. Don't put that on the... Anyway, the things that people have talked about tonight are already happening. We're changing our brains, we're thinking, we're doing things, we're sharing ideas, we're being together, we're igniting things. You got digits, good for you. So thank you. Leslie, do you have anything to say? You don't want to end it on me, do you? Because that'd be a...
We don't want to end it.
You don't want to end it, I know.
So if you have any energy left, you're welcome to come back up to Office Expats and clean up any of the goodies up there. And there's going to be some live music. So the Expats Jazz Band, the X Band is going to be upstairs. So feel free to come and join us again. And thank you very much for helping to ignite Bainbridge.